Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good morning and welcome to Saratoga Today for July 13th, right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with good friend and co-host from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Paul, happy first Saturday of Saratoga Meet.
Yes, I wish I were there, but soon enough, Howard, soon enough.
Soon enough. We got a lot of exciting news to talk about before we get into the early pick five. Let's take a few very quick administrative items. First of all, please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Paul, we are less than 70 subscribers away from 4,000 total. We really need your help. Please make sure you subscribe if you've not done that to the YouTube channel. You can follow me on X right there at HKravitz. Paul, you can follow him at PKH. You can see that on his tag as well. And then scrolling at the bottom of the screen, my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Listen to us also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. The Power Picks did well yesterday. In general, had some bad spot plays that didn't work out. And like Mr. Chad Brown's filly was awful in the Wilton, but it had some good picks in the ABC grid for those of you that subscribe to the Saratoga only picks. And Paul, was a doubleheader today. The Saratoga Power Picks sheet is out that you authored today. And of course, I authored the standard Power Picks, so people have plenty of time to look at that through their email. If you subscribe, go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, for a lot of good information, including, Paul, Del Mar only Power Picks are available, which are going to be authored mainly by our fantastic West Coast correspondent, Mr. Noah Maher. Take a look at that because Del Mar starts a week from today. Look into Matt's new book, A Better Way of Thinking, as well. All right, Paul, a few quick stories we want to share with everyone, storylines for today. First of all, huge scratch later today in the late pick five. The Pletcher monster, the full brother to Fierceness, Mentee, is out. The rail horse that takes out a ton of speed, and frankly, it changes the whole complexion of the race later today.
Yeah, and not to my benefit, Howard. I kind of like the 6 in that race. We talked about it on the show the other night. I thought the 6 could get the same type of trip, but mainly closing into a fast pace, and the pace just got a lot less fast with Mentee out. I think it benefits a horse like 3 Echoes. You better take another look at the 5 horse who got caught up in a speed duel last time, and he may have a lot clearer path. But hopefully just a minor setback for Mentee. But as you say, it definitely changes the complexion of the race.
And to be fair, we sent our picks this morning, of course, before the scratches came out. I want to give you a chance if you want to change your pick. I just want to make it officially known that I'm going with the number 8 Moplex on the outside for Engelhart and Irad. Outside speed, Paul's been playing very well first few days, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of speed now in this race. He's going to be able to sit off either the Butchie Reed horse, the number 3, or your aforementioned 3 Echoes. And I just see Moplex getting a great trip at maybe like 7-2 now. So that's my top choice. Are you sticking with Studley Do Right?
I think I am. Although I will, 3 Echoes will become an A for me in my ABC grid. Okay. He was a B, so that'll be my change. Moplex, Jeremiah Engelhart is the featured trainer in the Stable Tour. For those of you who haven't read today's Saratoga special online yet, this is horseracing.com. Jeremiah, great guy, runs a really good state. Of course, you recall Jeremiah was the original trainer of Maple Leaf Mel, the ill-fated Maple Leaf Mel. And this is, I certainly would love, there's 2 New York breds on the outside in this race, out at 7 and 8. So would love to see one of the New York breds win, but I will probably stay with the 6, but move up the 5.
Okay. The other thing, I just want 2 other quick thoughts. Number 1, the Diana later today, which we previewed, of course, on our Thursday show, Picks and Ponies, episode 361. Check that out with Mike Gillum, who was a great guest, by the way, the NHC champion, really nice guy. I just want to mention Chad Brown has said in some articles that came out yesterday, DRF, that White Beam is going to be, I think, more aggressively sent. He didn't say that, but he said that Chili Flag needs pace, and he just mentioned a few of his horses that need some pace up front. So I think White Beam is going to be a lot more aggressively sent. I don't know if that affects your Evie Jets opinion from last Thursday. We're not really going to get into it, Paul, but I just want to mention to everyone that I think White Beam is going to be more aggressive than number 6 in the Diana than people think. The other thought is Lucas said this morning or yesterday, Seize the Gray, the Preakness winner, is very much likely now or practically confirmed to go to the Jim Dandy and the Travers, which is cool because I'll get to see the Preakness winner then when I'm there with our BC crew in 2 weeks. So it looks like it'll be a little Seize the Gray versus Sierra Leone and whoever else is going to be going. Pletcher looks like he's sending his main armada to the Haskell, which is next week, which we'll cover on the show. All right, that pretty much takes care of some quick items. Let's get into the early pick 5. Paul, this early pick 5 might be chalky, and I will just say, I'm sure this is not a surprise to you. We are very similar in a lot of our picks today in the early pick 5. So let me go ahead and take the banner off the screen, and let's get right to it. Here we go. The early pick 5, of course, starts at 12:35.
12:35. Yes.
12:35. So they backed up the time a little bit. Usually it's 12:10. Is there a reason
it was
for that?
1:10 the first two. Well, they got 12 races. That might be one reason they don't want to finish at midnight.
Okay, so they're started 12:35 Eastern. It starts with a main special, 80,000. This is restricted for a horse that's sold for 50,000 or less. It's a field of 7. There are no scratches as of now. Those scratches are in, thankfully, so we can talk about that. Let me go ahead and put up the banners so we know who we are picking, or the people at home will know. Let me get to them right now. There we go. The big morning line favorite is the number 4, Dare to Breeze for Cassie and Gaffleone. 4-5 morning line. I'm going 4-5-2. Paul, you're going 4-2-3. This filly's gonna be tough to beat in this spot.
Yeah, well, you look at a race like this, Howard. It comes down to the horses who have run versus the horses who haven't. So if you look at the first timers, there are 3 of them. Starting with the outside going in, Mez California. Kenny McPeak is really low percentage with first-time starters in dirt sprints, 6%. It only goes up to 8% at Saratoga. Rudy Rodriguez, same category, first-time starters dirt sprint, 11%, drops down to 9% at Saratoga. And Dallas Stewart, first-time starters at Saratoga in general, 0 for 9. And he's 12% with dirt sprint for time starters overall. So in the workouts, nothing that was really going to hint that any of these 3 is going to, emerge. So therefore, I stuck with the most logical horse who's run, who unfortunately is the 4-5 favorite. You got to figure she'll move forward off that effort in which she got caught at Churchill Downs. And
look who she faced, Paul. I mean, Sherbini ran a big
Sherbini
second on Thursday that you and I both needed to win. Strong State also came back to win. I mean, this is a really live, restricted 50K race. It really comes out to being more like a solid main special unrestricted race. I just have a hard time believing that Dare to Breeze is going to lose today if she breaks.
I agree. Yeah, I just don't see anything that you could make a real strong case for. The 2 will probably go. The Parks, John Service's horse. By the way, John Service with maiden second-time starters is 18%, by the way. And John Service has only run 5 horses at Saratoga in the last 5 years, and he's 1 for 5. So, and that horse draws Rosario. So I wouldn't go to total sleep on the 2 horse.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of the 49 to the half and a 4.5 furlong race for Mischief Maxi, but you make some good points. I want to quickly mention, and we'll move on, Amori Sophia. If I look down on my phone, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at the DRF workout report on my phone. A B as in boy workout for Amori Sophia last time. However, broke slow, apparently. That is not something good. It is Irad and Rudy. I'm sure the 5 will be taking some money for sure. Let's go ahead on to the next race, Paul. Race 2 has a major defection. Pretty disappointing, to be very honest to me, because, and we're going to have to change our picks at the bottom, as we just found this out literally seconds ago. The Kelso is now a 4-horse field. The big favorite, Mysterious Knight Godolphin, is scratched. I'm sure you'll find out the story there, Paul, as you have some Godolphin connections. I haven't heard what happened there, but Mysterious Knight was going to be very tough to beat. It is now a 4-horse field. Do you want to change your selections here live, Paul, or just leave them on the screen and we can,
I'll just simply go 5, just 5-4.
5-4.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason to. All right, you're going 5.
Yeah, really, that's a tough one, just because the 4 and 5 are going to take money. It's one of those races we talked about on the show, Howard. If you're playing a caveman, you really needed to make a decision. Now you really, really need to make a decision. Folks, do me a favor. Don't play a caveman and use the 4 and 5. Can you do that one favor for Cousin Paul? Not play a caveman ticket using the 4 and the 5.
Yeah.
Therefore doubling. And if you say, well, I don't want to use that, it doesn't matter if I double the cost. I don't want to use that many horses. Play it for twice as much instead. And don't be afraid to get beat by one of these horses.
We got a lot of people, by the way, in the chat, and I'm sorry I didn't mention them earlier because we wanted to, start the show right away. But I want to thank everyone that's in the chat. I see Kyle Roscoe. Oldie is here from Equine Edge. What's up, Oldie? How you doing? Brad Anderson is here. Raymond Cromley is here. Dave Duncan in the chat as well. We got Cool Kev here. What's up, Cool Kev? Salute, fellas. We got hundreds of people in the chat, a little bit less than Thursday. I hope people didn't get scared of the sound issues from Thursday, but hey, what are you going to do? Look who's here.
They heard you weren't going to be muted. That's what kept them away.
Well, that could be true. Pat Kunzel, who is live at Saratoga, our good friend of Ben and Boozin. So Pat, I know Pat had enjoyed the day yesterday. It's going to be a little more toasty up in Saratoga today. Yesterday was absolutely gorgeous, but it is going to be clear and sunny, so that's good. Let's get back to this race, Paul. Carl Spackler, I'm a huge fan. He was not that good last time, and Chad said he wasn't really sure why, blah, blah, blah. Let's just focus on the 3 and the 7, because Mysterious Knight is not in this race, although you can certainly watch it and glean your own opinions here. But again, the 3 and the 7, Ice Chocolat wired the field. Speed played very well on that Belmont day at Saratoga for a lot of reasons, and I thought really Talk of the Nation was happy to sit off and just didn't go by. And Carl Spackler, who's the 3, got a really good trip and couldn't go by. I would have liked Mysterious Knight, who was the 1 who sort of got pinched on the inside here in the stretch and just couldn't get out. What do you make of Talk of the Nation, Carl Spackler, though, the 3 and 7 here in the green caps, both of them?
I thought neither of them had a good excuse, but I thought the 7 had less of an excuse than Spackler. The 7 not being able to go by this, so I can't play this horse on top after that. No, Ice Chocolate's not a terrible horse, but you got dead aim on it. The 2 horse would have won this race for fun, Howard. By the way, that was that was underrated trail. This 2 horse would have won this race for fun. I know everyone would have made fun of me for picking the Godolphin horse, but the 2 would have won this race for fun. I'm going to go with Spackler. The sequence to me is a lot less appealing now. I'll play it, obviously, but I just, as I say, I didn't think either of them had a particularly good excuse, and I thought the 4 had less of an excuse.
Carl Spackler is a really nice horse, and I think the question for me is what he's going to do tactically. I think Talk of the Nation's going. But, Northern Invader wouldn't mind going either. This is really a jockey race. And, Call Me Harry's not slow either and has Saya. So the benefit that Carl Spackler has in a 4-horse field, Paul, is something I've talked about a lot in this show, which frankly has been very effective. The horse Mulligan last week reminds me of this. When you break on the outside in a small field, Paul, you have a lot less pressure because all you have to do is break and you can look to your left and make a decision. If they all send, Tyler can just sit. If they decide to sit, he can go a little bit. He's going to have to run a lot better than last time, though. He was not very good. And if you don't like Talk of the Nation or you don't love him, I mean, is there any chance these inside horses can upset? I think Northern Invader is slightly interesting. I have a hard time believing Call Me Harry's going to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, Cherie DeVoe is hot, and Jose has 2 wins, 3 wins in 2 seconds. It's in today's Saratoga Power Picks for all you subscribers of the Saratoga Power Picks. Right. Jose's carried over as Churchill. And if you're not a subscriber of the Saratoga Power Picks, we're not exactly sure. You must have been taken hostage or something and unable to get online to make the purchase. Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. I do agree with you about Spackler. He's not going to get worse than a 4-wide trip, Howard.
If he gets a 4-wide trip, if Tyler gets a 4-wide trip on this horse, I'm going to take everything back I said from Sierra Leone and say this was the absolutely most horrendous ride he's ever had in his entire life.
Yeah, well, I got the feeling Chad wasn't that thrilled with the ride last time. He was kind of in between, but FYI, the horse is owned by Tyler's father-in-law, so Tyler's not going anywhere on this horse unless Bob Edwards wants to cause some trouble in his own family. So, I'm going to go. I think Spackler is a good horse. The other thing I like, Howard, is Spackler is 2 for 3 at Saratoga. He is good. He ran very, very well in the Hall of Fame last year. We were all there for that. No, we weren't there. That was the week after we were there. But ran very well in the Hall of Fame. Came back and won on closing weekend in the Saranac. So in a coin flip, that could be the difference, the course experience and success.
Yeah, there's not much separating some of these. So it's going to be, it's a 4-horse race. Okay, whatever. But it's going to be interesting tactically to watch. Let's go on to race 3. Now, race 3 is a tough race, Paul. And you'll see our picks on the bottom of the screen. I'm going 7-4-1. You're going 4-1-A-6. I found this race to be very difficult. Let's bring it up on the screen. It is those hard-knocking horses that we love to watch that really make this game what it is on a day-to-day basis. 50 claimers, $80,000 purse, 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. It is a field of 7 with a coupled entry of the 1 and 1A with Nelson Avenue and Top Gunner. You're going to go with Celestial Gaze for D'Angelo and Ortiz, 3-1 morning line, coming in from Gulfstream, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. And again, I don't want to totally give away today's power picks, but you can read a little more about this horse if you are reading the power picks. Jose D'Angelo came into the Saratoga meet at 2 for 26 in the last 5 years at Saratoga. He lost the race on opening day to go 2 for 27. And then he won yesterday with Twirling Candy, who was a decent price, 7-2 in that very balanced Coronation Cup. So he's brought more horses than he ever has. He has a string of 20. And he is pointing to this meet a little more. I don't love this horse, but the horse is ultra consistent, 13 in the money out of 24. Obviously knows how to win, 5 wins, picks up Jose Ortiz. We've already talked about him. His buyer's fit. He's a mid-80s type of buyer, gelding. Has hit the 90s way back when. So I think he's got a pretty good chance here. And, anytime you can beat the coupled entry, you're going to get better value because the coupled entry will always be less value than it should be. Always. 1 million times out of a million, it'll be less value than it should be.
By the way, Paul, I just want to mention, it may be hard to see. I got my Saratoga glass, which has orange juice and may or may not be a mimosa. I'll just let everyone decide at home.
Nice.
But the 4 is definitely used for me. I've got the gelding second. I'm going to go to the outside here with Lost in Rome for used to be Linda, and now it's a different trainer. A few reasons why I like this horse. First of all, I think it's a wide open race, Paul. I'm getting a price, number 1. Number 2, outside speed has been doing very well these first few meets. I mean, we've seen Bombs win 211 horses at major prices have won in the first 2 days. I don't know if that trend's going to continue. I would say the rail is no bueno. However, in the Wilton yesterday, a nice Pletcher filly did come up the rail and win. But if you think about it, Paul, that's really the only horse that's won up the rail. So I don't think the rail is great right now, and I think you prefer to be on the outside. I'm not saying it doesn't favor speed or closers. I just think outside paths appear to be a little better right now. This horse should get a very good trip. It's a 7-year-old, not a lot of upside, but again, who do you really fear in this race? I mean, I suppose the coupling is going to be tough, but I'm just going with a bit of a price here. It's not my strongest pick. Let's talk about the coupled entry here. As we mentioned it, you actually like the 1A and I like the flat one. What is it? It doesn't really matter, of course, but let's talk about the 1A first, which I just blew by, I think. Where the heck is the 1A now? On the outside, of course. You've heard Top Gunner, which is Merton Cantor-Massey. I prefer the flat one. They both are live, but I don't know. 2-1 seems awfully low. If they were on their own, wouldn't they be like 5-1? 6-1? I don't know.
You're goading me now. Now you're goading me. You're trying to get me. I could see it. I could see right through you. If you make these little subtle comments about the odds on the entry, you think I'm going to go into my mini rant and talk about how stupid it is. Okay, I get you, Howard. Anyway, yeah, I agree. 2-1 is low. That's why I went with someone else on top. Interestingly, Merton Cantor-Massey, who's a great guy, by the way, does a really good job. He's really good off the claim. Not as good when just taking over a horse otherwise. So first after a trainer switch, he's only 9%, but boy, this horse has been pretty consistent, mainly on the the Midwest circuit, Oaklawn, Keeneland. I don't know. I mean, Manny's off again, riding well. This horse is always in the mix. I see your horse, the 7. That's a former Zilla horse, way back when, I believe.
Yeah. He's a former lot of horses. He's a lot of formers. It's been claimed very actively.
I got the 5 as a B, but hasn't run in 15 months, 16 months. I got the 6 as a B, coming off a voided claim, which is that could mean the paperwork was done wrong, or it could mean there was some type of physical issue. We really don't know. So
I've had people ask me that. I want to interrupt you, Paul, and I'm sorry for doing it, but this is important. I've had a bunch of people ask me in person, through email, how do you know when a horse was a voided claim? Can you just give people information on where that is located, where they can find that information?
If you look in the PPs, and we were talking about the 6, his last race, you'll see claim for 50,000, the V before the 50,000. Right, and again, I don't profess to know everything about it, but I'm almost sure it can be administrative. Obviously, it could be something physical. It could be something that happened in the test barn. Who knows? So it isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I would say this, with it being so long ago, last October, it's really not. I would say it's much less of an issue. My point is, there's a lot of ways to go here, but it's pretty easy to come up with a knock on anywhere you might land.
I hate to say the A word because I'm in general against the all button, because that just tells you have no opinion, and I feel like in general you're wasting money. I might take exception to the rule on this one. I mean, I don't know, especially because a lot of the other legs you can go skinny, right, Paul? So maybe you try to hit an all button, get a price. But the weird thing about this race is I don't think anyone's going to be like 20-1. So again, exactly. I think you have to somewhat take a stand. Chris Couples like the 2 a little bit. I mean, why can't the 2 wire the field? It is Lane Luzzy, but it's Orlando Noda who goes hot and cold. And anyway, it's an interesting race, and we'll see what happens. One of the better betting races, in the early pick 5 for sure. Let's go on to race 4. Race 4, which I need to move down, is an allowance race and a good one. This is a really good allowance race. 7 furlongs on the dirt, N1X, 110,000 is the purse. There is a scratch of the number 1 and the number 8. The morning line favorite is the very talented Pletcher Irad horse number 2, Illuminaire, who ran big last month on Belmont Day at Saratoga, I believe. 7-5 morning line right now. Let's go ahead and show our picks. I'm going 2-3-5. Paul's going 2-8-3. Paul, I'm very curious to see how Illuminaire does in this race. Now, it's fair to say Pletcher's been a little bit hot and cold lately. I really liked his filly yesterday that won very impressively up the rail with Flavian, who, by the way, I mean, this is no breaking news. How good is Flavian Pratt? I mean, he is just absolutely fantastic. Illuminaire is going to be ridden by Irad, who's also pretty good. His last race speaks for himself. We'll go ahead and watch it, though.
Yeah, and this is a good effort if you put it on, Howard. He didn't have everything. I mean, he was right up on the pace, but he was kind of in company the whole time. And there's a spot even when he takes the lead in the stretch where he pulls away by almost 2 lengths at the end. He's the 4 here who's going to be second flight, a little on the outside. I believe he's just outside of the 3. Yeah. And, you see him in those great Centennial Farms colors, by the way, Centennial Farms, based in Ipswich, Massachusetts, I might add. And right now it kind of looks like he's blowing by, but this 27-1 shot named after our good friend Bob Mullins, called Bob. He isn't really named after him, but
I did not know that.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Oh. It's something I do 3 times a day, though. Call Bob.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he finds himself in a tussle here, and you say, okay, this horse is 27-1, so maybe that's a negative. Now he's got a horse trying to come in between, who does get in between. I'm just saying that he really had to work for this, and he still puts them away at the end. It looks to me like this horse has the looks of a horse who's going to get better as they go longer. He's going the same 7 furlongs today, but if I put on my Pete Visco hat for a minute here, Howard, if Pletcher off a maiden win on dirt sprints, 22%. Second time starters in general off a maiden win, 26%. The race that this horse, you just showed that race, Howard, 5 horses have run back out of that race. Maybe more than 5, but there have been 3 winners in 2 seconds out of that race last time. So that was a very live maiden race, as you would expect on Belmont Day at Saratoga, right? It's people want to run. So that was a live race. And, the 3 right next to him has the same number. An 88 is running 92. The 3 just looks a little camera shy. He's had a lot of chances. Definitely, it really looks like the type of race that could come back chalky with the 2 winning and the 3 somewhere on the board.
It feels that way. A little information on Illuminaire. Before I do that, I do want to mention, though, 2 of those 3 next out winners, Paul, went to synthetic and turf to do it. So they're probably not really dirt horses. I just wanted to mention that. Illuminaire has worked back, how many times here? 3 times. Since that last win, Paul. The work on the 28th 2-back was against a horse called Fierceness.
Fierceness, I read that.
So if Pletcher's working this horse with Fierceness, he obviously thinks very highly of him. And then the last work is with a nice filly, Manama Gold. So he's working Illuminaire with stake horses, is my point. The rail, though, we'll see. I mean, if the rail's not real good right now, that might be a little bit tricky, but I think this horse is going to be very tough to beat. Classic Legacy, I wanted to, as usual, Paul, try to find a horse to beat this one. I couldn't find it. I mean, Classic Legacy, you talk about camera shy, boy. I mean, second by a nose, second by 1, second by a half. He always runs well. He never gets there. And if he can't get there with a trainer like Mott and a jockey like Alvarado, he really must be a bit of a hanger. That being said, his numbers fit. He should get a good trip. and there's really no one else in this field I could really attach myself to. I guess a Baden could get loose if he runs big and is sent hard. I thought that was like the fuzzy in the race. You've got the 8 who's now scratched. I mean, it just feels like it's gonna be chalky again. I hate to be that kind of guy, but it just feels that way.
Yeah, it's funny how I had 2 Bs in the race, the 1 and 8. I thought they were both kind of fuzzies with a chance. I thought the 1 off a long layoff, 1 is maiden race, and then went into the deep end. But yeah, so my 2 Bs were scratched. So I guess I'll live with my A, Illuminaire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Illuminaire is going to be tough, and we're not going to just throw out horses there just to throw them on the wall and hope they stick. I mean, that'd be dinosaurish, or what was the word you used?
Dinosauric. Dinosauric. That's a good word, isn't it?
C. That'd be with a C at the end of it. That's
a good word, isn't it? Yes,
it is a good word. I'm going to throw that in there. People are like, "What the hell are they talking about?" Watch our show from Thursday night, and you'll know. All right, let's go on to the last race of the early pick 5. Now, Paul, I got mad love and respect for you as a human being, as a handicapper, etc. And of course, I saw your picks this morning before everyone else. And Paul, I want to tip my cap because I have no idea if we're going to be right, but I love your top pick in this race. I know you do also, and it is not going to be the favorite. Let's look at our picks scrolling on the bottom of the screen in race 5 right now as I go ahead and also bring up the Equibase entries. This is an allowance race, a mile and a 16th. They are on the inner. The turf should be firm. I saw there were a few showers maybe last night. I haven't heard anything, so I'm sure everything was fine. $110,000. This is a field of, let's see, 7. Yes, with another, actually there's 8 horses, but 7 on your tote system, with of course, a coupled entry that we need to talk about. And they are the big Moorline favorite, the 1 and 1A. This is Chad, and then Irad and Pratt, 2 pretty good turf riders who he has. And you know what, Paul? We're saying no. We're both going to go with the number 3, Rebel Red, a British bred for Cherie DeVoe, Jose Ortiz, coming from Churchill, 5-1 morning line. We have a little time to talk, about this race if we need to, because whether you receive the Saratoga power picks or not, this is one of Paul's plays of the day. And I got to tell you right now, Paul, of the early part of the card, this is my play of the day. Were you going to look brilliant or really stupid come race 5 today? Let's talk about Rebel Red to upset the big entry.
Yeah, we're going to get value. We know that, right? Because you said not only is it a Chad entry, but it's Pratt and Irad, which I love because if I'm going to try to beat him, I want to get paid for it. This horse was 0 for 2 in England as a 2-year-old, and then obviously something went wrong. The horse was off for a year and a half, so you can excuse the 6th at Keeneland, although interestingly, Howard, that horse took a lot of money in that race at Keeneland off a 18-month layoff, didn't he?
Sure
and then came back at Churchill, had the 12 in a field of 12. So he was just wide by nature. Great ride by Jose. And if you go back and watch it, really good acceleration. Howard will just put the Churchill race up. Really good acceleration.
Don't make me rant now, Paul. We're going to fool the viewers. We can't show the Churchill race.
You know how we joke about that a lot, but we should say, and I know there are other places, but I mean, I use Naira Bets because I support the live racing product. And Naira Bets, you can go back and watch the Churchill replays are easy enough to see.
Yeah.
So I think this horse moves forward off that race. Cherie's numbers are good in all these categories. Off a win, twice off the layoff. She in general is very good. As I pointed out, if you read the power picks, perhaps she'll take special relish in beating an entry trained by her former boss, Chad Brown. So, 5-1. I look, and again, I was very wrong about my spot play on opening day. That 4-horse who finished, let's see, the race started Thursday. He finished Friday about 1 a.m. That 4-horse that I touted on Thursday. Yeah, he came across and it was really good. They kept the lights on for him, just like Motel 6.
That's right, Paul. I touted the wonderful Chad Brown filly in the Wilton yesterday on the Power Picks, who didn't run a step, the 6-horse. It was absolutely awful in that race.
But my point is this. This is the type of horse, this, in my mind, is an ideal spot play type horse because he obviously has a realistic chance if you look on paper, but 5-1 is more than fair. And again, 5-1 is maybe a tad inflated based on the presence of the entry. So for all I complain about the entry, maybe I'd like to capitalize it.
There are
Siggy's in the chat. Siggy,
we have people
give me a 3-4. Howard, give me a 3-4 in this race, and it'll be a good weekend. Just give me a 3-4. That's all. Be a good weekend with a 3-4.
Siggy was asking about Hunt Ball, who has only 2 lifetime starts in turf and has run perfectly fine for your guy, for Mountain Alvarado. So, yeah, look, there are so many things I like about this 3. You've already touched on a bunch. Let me add a few more. This horse was wide as wide can be last time at Churchill, and you can watch the replay on Twin Spires or Never Bets, whatever. We just can't show the replay through DRF, a ticket time form, everyone. This horse was wide, uncovered the entire time, number 1. Number 2, the acceleration he showed, Paul, in the last 200 yards was really impressive. They were 8, him and the second place finisher were 8 clear of the rest of the field. Now, maybe the rest of the field was just no bueno. However, they were way clear. Let's look at the breeding of this horse. I'm sure you looked at it. First of all, Frankel, of course. Frankel, right? Frankel on the top side. This horse I have to Tamarcuz, who actually I bet in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile in 16 that I remember in 2016, who won it 12-1. He's also half to Without Parole. It was a really nice Chad Brown turf horse. So there's plenty of breeding here. It's Frankel. Obviously, Cherie's figured this out, or the horse is now healthy. He's tactical. I'm assuming he can sit in behind. I think he's going to have to sit in behind a little bit, but he should get a good trip here. Jose Ortiz is riding great. I have a feeling this horse is going to get bet a little bit down. I think he's going to be 7-2. I would take him at 7-2. Let's talk about the entry, and then we'll end the show, Paul, and we'll give our best bets. The Transactional is one of them, who's coming off a year-and-a-half layoff. And I got to tell you, Paul, Chad Brown's a little cold right now. Now, was it last year or 2 years ago where he started off cold and then won every race the last 4 weeks of the meet and ended up winning the training title? His filly ran poorly yesterday. His horse in the last race, although did get cut up in a pace duel and was off a long layoff and was a 5-year-old, blah, blah, blah. But that horse didn't run well. Chad had another horse earlier in the card, the 4-horse, who was in a main race who just ran okay. Look, I love Chad Brown. I know you do too. He's one of the best trainers in the world. His barn's not exactly on fire right now. He's got this one, Transactional, who's off a big layoff. And then he's got the one that's probably going to take more money, Unit Economics. Now, Unit Economics won last time and beat Storm Ready. Storm Ready ran yesterday, Paul, and was horrible. Remember that horse? Now, again,
oh yeah,
are we going to go by the transitive property? Does that mean that his horse today is going to run poorly? No, but it's not a good sign, right? So, and this horse got a dream trip last time, a really good trip. He ran big, and he might win this race, and he could run big again. But you got a horse coming off a layoff, Paul, and you got a horse who got a perfect trip, and they're going to be 4-5. Look, I'm going to try to beat this horse. I'm not going to use it as a B, because using 4-5s as B as in boy horses, there I did it again, as B horses are not a good thing, Paul. I'm using the coupling as a C, and if they beat me, they beat me, and hopefully I'll have A's before that. That's my horizontal approach. How would you use the ones? Because you have them in second. On ABC, just use them as an A anyway, with all these other favorites you have as A's. It's an interesting ticket construction dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and I do, at first glance, did have. I agree with you kind of on the B. I think you either chuck them or maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how much sense it only makes sense to use as a C if you got some decent priced A horse in the sequence, which is really not the case. Everything you just said about the horse, Howard, I wish you would give proper attribution, because I know you were reading from the Power Picks tip sheet about the entry. So I just, it'd be nice if you just gave some attribution and say, I'm sounding really intelligent talking about this entry, but I did get it off today's Saratoga Power Picks, and that's why you people too should subscribe, because then in talking to your friends, you could sound intelligent as well.
The great Paul Halloran echoed all my sentiments before I said that. We look, Paul,
really, Howard. That's the point, though, right? You got the long layoff. If you want to know, and obviously Chad's very good off the layoff. I get it. That horse yesterday, which I needed, one of the horses I had in the pick 5.
Yeah.
He got caught up with that 9. It's things I dream about at night. I really love it to be alive to 2 horses in the pick 5, and they go off and run each other into submission. They're 8 lengths ahead in a turf race. There's a 0% chance one's going to. But anyway, and then I had written, Howard, on my PPs on the 1A, perfect trip. To your point, it wasn't. Now, he put up a 91. I get it. So, yeah, I do not think, if this horse is even money and the 3 is 4-1, I don't think that the 3 has a 25. I think the 3 has more than a 25% chance of beating this 1A, this entry all day long. So
I think so.
Yeah, Chad can beat us. He beats a lot of people. And Howard, how can you expect Chad to be off to a good start when they're not carding 10 Grade 1 races every day? How can you? It's so unreasonable of you.
Let's go to your best bets, Paul. I'm going to make an executive decision. You can just throw me under the bridge. How about if you go 5-4-2 in that pick 3? You okay with that, Singing Carl Spackler?
Yes.
You okay with that?
Well, yeah. I can't go 2-4-2.
Right. Well, obviously not. Yeah, but you could have gone like 4 or 5 with 4 with 2. So
that's in race 2. Let's see. Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I could play a double 4-2, but I was trying to hit a cold pick 3 with the Godolphin horse that got scratched, and then the 4 horse who I talked about, Celestial, and then ending with Illuminae. And it's a type of pick 3 I would be obviously playing for a lot more than 50 cents.
Yeah. And my best bet is race 5. It's the 3 horse. I'm going to use that horse in probably not every spot in the try, because I don't think I'm getting value with him in 3rd. He's going to be 7-2. So I'm going to play big trifectas with the 3 in 1st and 2nd with a bunch of horses underneath, including Hunt Ball, the number 4. I might not even toss the 1. I might toss the 1 out of 2nd and try to even get a bigger try. I'll see how. I might play a bigger increment, Paul, with the 1 in 3rd only. And mess around. I don't know. I got to mess around with it, but I'm definitely gonna do win in place on the 3. I might not even do place money. It depends on the price. I just think that 3. I mean, everyone listens to this show, so the 3 is now going to take more money than he probably should in race 5. Paul, I want to end the show with something we have never done before in the 500 plus videos on this channel. Are you ready? Have you ever pulled the horse racing or betting D-Gen thoroughbred harness racing double in a day? Have you ever done that in your life?
Oh, absolutely. It's Saratoga.
Well, tonight is the Meadowlands Pace. It's basically the Kentucky Derby of harness racing. It's at the Meadowlands, of course. It's $650,000 race. And I used to be a big harness guy. I still follow harness racing. The card tonight, the Meadowlands, is the best harness racing card of the year. Also along with the Breeders' Crown is what they call it, not the Breeders' Cup. But this is a huge card. So, Paul, let's do this, right? Here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. We'll just real quick and stay with us, everyone, just for a minute. We'll be very brief. It's the Meadowlands Pace, and the favorite's going to be Nijinsky, the number 3, who won the North American Cup, which is a big race for 3-year-olds up in Canada. 6 for 6. How about that? 6 for 6 right now this year. Nijinsky with Louis Waugh in the bike, not in the saddle, in the bike, right? In the sulky. Nijinsky's gonna be the favorite. Paul, I really like Fun Time Bayama for Dexter Dunn, who finished a really good second to Nijinsky last time. I'm going with the 2. to pull out the small upset. Funtime Bayama was 3 wide last time in the elimination last week. Fouled Nijinsky, but then ended up being first over and ran a very good second. So I'm going to go with Funtime Bayama to beat Nijinsky. I'll just show the rest of the field. There's 3 captains, by the way, on the outside, the 7, 8, and 9. Nijinsky is a serious 3-year-old right now, Paul. But I'm going to go with number 2, Funtime Bayama, to win the Meadowlands Pace night. How about that? Any Harness fans out there in the chat? Any Harness fans in the chat, by the way?
I'll tell you a funny story, Howard, is we did a short trip to Saratoga when my wife and I have now been married for it's over 30 years. You lose track when it's that much fun. Anyway, it'll be 34 years this year. Don't worry, I do know. Anyway, but a long, long time ago when we were dating, in a day, she went to Saratoga Racecourse in the afternoon. And now, if you go to Saratoga Harness now, you see it's a glitzy casino, nice dining rooms. Let me just say the old Saratoga Harness was not quite as glitzy. And she went over, we didn't stay for the card, but she went over for a part of that card. And when she didn't dump me after that, I figured, I got a future. She's not dumped me after a Saratoga Harness back end of a doubleheader. So there she is. That was her chance, and she blew it. And 34 years later, she's stuck.
Well, look, it's okay that she's stuck with a pretty good guy. The last thing I'll say about Saratoga Harness, I knew a guy once who, from what I understand, went to Saratoga Harness and would purposely bet a ridiculous amount of money based on the pool size just to manipulate the pools and F up the people that were there watching, and a horse would go from like 40-1 to like 7-2. I think you might have met this person before, but anyway, we'll just let that go. But anyway, Saratoga Harness is fun. Paul, I had a great time this morning. Really appreciate it. Tomorrow morning on Saratoga Today will be myself and Pete Visco. So Paul will give you a little bit of break. You've been working really hard this weekend for us. We greatly appreciate it. For my good friend and co-host, Paul Halloran, and please check out the Saratoga special as well. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, for Saratoga Today, Saturday, July 13th. Crush your bets at the spa. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.